When US President Barack Obama visited Kenya in July 2015, this is one of the places he left his footprints, August 7 Memorial Park.
Yes, indeed. He came and he laid a wreath in memory of the over 200 people that were killed during the 1998 bomb blast. This went hand in hand with the message of stepping up the fight against terror as he became the first US sitting president to visit this country. In this show,
Obama's legacy.
As he hands over power to the president-elect Donald Trump on 20th January 2017, that is this Friday.
My conversations with you, the American people, have kept me honest and kept me inspired and kept me going.
Hakika Obama ametusaidia sana, especially in the fight against terrorists. We have the ongoing fight in Somalia.
And is there any way in which the home country of Obama's father, that is Kenya, and by extension Africa, had a special place in Obama's administration?
We need to acknowledge Obama is an American. He was elected as American president to serve American interests.
He was able to focus the world's attention to Africa in a manner that looked more from an investment perspective and trade perspective than humanitarian aid.
What are some of Obama's failures?
It was not necessary, for example, for America to invade Libya.
Also in this show, what does a Donald Trump presidency mean for Africa?
About the Trump presidency, time will tell.
Well, that is what is coming up in the show, but first let's have the fact sheet.
Tracing Obama's footprints on the continent.
Egypt was the first African country President Barack Obama visited. This was on 4th June 2009. He spoke at Cairo University. Egypt is a key player in the Middle East peace process. Between July 10th and July 11th, 2009, President Obama made his second trip to the continent, this time round visiting Ghana, where he met with President John Atta Mills. He delivered a speech to the Ghanaian parliament and toured a former departing point of the transatlantic slave trade, the Cape Coast Castle. In 2013, President Obama made yet another trip to the continent, accompanied by First Lady Michelle Obama, a trip that saw him tour 3 countries, Senegal, South Africa, and Tanzania. President Obama's 4th trip to Africa saw him land in Kenya first, his father's ancestral home. Obama prioritized meeting with family, which included his grandma, Sarah Obama, who had traveled all the way from Kogelo village in Siaya County to meet her grandson. Also in the meeting was his sister, Auma Obama. During his visit to Kenya, Obama opened the 6th Global Entrepreneurship Summit and held bilateral talks with President Uhuru Kenyatta. From Kenya, Obama's next stop was Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where he addressed the African Union. This was the first time a sitting US president addressed the African Union Summit. Obama's visits to the continent were mostly in June or July. And that's the fact sheet. I am Sarah Okoro for the Chamwada Report.
All right, he took over power in a historic 2008 election and was inaugurated as the 44th President of the United States on 20th January 2009. Great. Now, Alex, you covered US elections in 2008 when Obama became the president. How was the experience for you?
That time was, at the height of the use of technology and social media, and Obama applied it so well. It was an electrifying election, and Obama united the world. His message, was a message that united Americans and by extension united the world.
This time round we saw a situation whereby even there was some calls to recount the votes. Maybe you can compare the election in 2008 and the one that saw Donald Trump being elected as the president.
In 2008 it was pretty clear. Obama won clearly. There were no claims of rigging, and what we are hearing in the Hillary-Donald Trump election, you know, hacking into the system. No, it was clear and everyone accepted the result. At the end of it, I think it's an election that united Americans.
And the experience for you, maybe?
Well, for me, it was great experience, you know, comparing an election in the US with a Kenyan election. When you're in the US covering that election, you are really expanding it to global issues as compared to when you are covering a Kenyan election. And it was really a memorable moment for me. Let us take a moment and look at some of my memorable pictures and images from that trip.
Jimbo la Florida linajulikana kwa mchaka wa kisiasa. Mnamo mwaka wa 2000 kulikuwa na mashindano makali kati ya Rais George W. Bush na Al Gore. Na je, mwaka huu mambo yatakuwa vipi? Hilo ndilo swali wenyeji walikuwa wakijiuliza huku wakingojea hotuba ya Obama na Rais mstaafu Bill Clinton.
Thank you. Thank you. In case all of you forgot, this is what it's like to have a great president.
We will restore trust and confidence. Country first, politics second. That was McCain's message as he urged voters in Virginia to continue with their trend of voting Republican. Tomorrow he'll be crisscrossing Pennsylvania while his rival Barack Obama will be in Ohio. This is where Martin Luther King Jr. was buried, and 40 years on, his spirit lives on. Will his dream come true through Obama? Well, that's what Obama's supporters are hoping for, and Americans are just about to decide. The big question is, will Obama, the African American, triumph over historical barriers?
It must have been an amazing experience for you.
Well, as you've seen in the pictures.
Great. On to the focus of today's program, Obama's legacy.
Our guest analysts today are Professor Peter Kagwanja, an international relations scholar, Dr. Kenneth Kambona, a development analyst, and Boaz Mbaya, a former permanent secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who also served as Kenya's ambassador to various countries and now a consultant.
People maybe don't talk a lot about it, but he initiated a number of projects that are relating to Africans. The first one is Power Africa, Trade Africa. He was able to focus the world's attention to Africa in a manner that looked more from an investment perspective and trade perspective than humanitarian aid.
Obama reassured the world that the African people are not just human beings like the others, but they are capable of producing their own geniuses. It is not an easy task to be elected a president of America. It is not also an easy task to be an American president for 2 terms.
We need to acknowledge Obama is an American. He was elected as American president to serve American interests. So probably we built up too high expectations of him to do things for Africa. One, diplomacy is not conducted on emotions. Diplomacy is conducted on sheer national interest. So if the national interests of America brought Obama to Africa, it was to serve American interests. But that being said, and that being the position, Obama has origins in Kenya. His father was Kenyan. So we were proud that an American of all Kenyan origin was elected to the highest office in the land. So that in itself should give us an opportunity to build on that and create situations where tourists can come to America to see Obama's home, to see Obama's origins, to see Obama's ancestry. And I think the Western Circuit in Kenya for tourism can benefit from that. So his legacy to me in terms of him being of African origin and Kenyan origin specifically is that he placed Kenya on the map. This is the home of United States, 44th President of the United States of America.
The United States faces similar threats of terrorism. We are grateful for the sacrifices made by Kenyans on the front lines as part of AMISOM. We're proud of the efforts that we're making to strengthen Kenya's capabilities through our new security governance initiative. We're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with you in this fight against terrorism for as long as it takes.
And the United States should be credited for being alert to the dangers of international terrorism. Kenya should be alert and work together with the rest of the world to the dangers of to try and fight international terrorism. We have been victims, Westgate, the American embassy, the Kambala bombings, and a spate of bombings, Garissa and Northeastern and in Nairobi. And I think if we work closely together, and I hope the Trump administration will continue with that policy, we should be able to try and deal with those menaces, yes.
It was not necessary for America to invade Libya without an alternative of how to stabilize the country. They did two things. One, they destroyed the stability was there. Two, they did not give alternative stability, and therefore they delivered the country to Al-Qaeda and other forms of terrorists.
Let's jog our memory a bit. Obama visited Kenya in July 2015. What are some of the deals and pledges that were signed during his visit, and will they survive Donald Trump's presidency? Brian Obuya is next with a recap of those deals and pledges.
President Barack Obama's visit to Kenya was historic, but majorly because Obama was becoming the first sitting U.S. president to visit Kenya in the 240 years of U.S. independence. Besides, he was visiting his father's ancestral home country as president. Obama had come to Kenya for the Global Entrepreneurship Summit that sought to bring together business-minded people in all levels. During the 6th Global Summit and on the sidelines, several business deals were made.
The United States is a country of entrepreneurs with a unique capacity to build transformative businesses, and I hope that these entrepreneurs and investors will recognize and act on the immense opportunities Kenya and Africa present. And in this regard, I also express my appreciation of his leadership in shepherding the renewal of AGOA.
And today, President Kenyatta and I agreed to expand the economic partnerships between our peoples that can provide broad-based prosperity. We will extend student and business visas for up to 5 years for Kenyans traveling to the United States and for Americans traveling to Kenya. This will make it easier for university students to complete their studies and for businesses to make long-term plans.
That has been implemented, but what has yet to be implemented is the quest for direct flights between Kenya and the United States of America. There were agreements related to health and food security as well. It was during this presser that Barack addressed Kenyans on the issue of corruption.
The joint commitment we've agreed to today, the United States will offer advice and technical assistance to support Kenya as it takes additional steps to increase transparency and accountability and to strengthen institutions that fight corruption.
At a rally at the Kasarani Sports Complex, Obama emphasized the need to protect human rights, the need to protect and uphold democracy on the African continent. Obama talked of the need and the urgency to treat people equally under the law, but remained more specific on women.
So now's the time for us to do the hard work of living up to that inheritance, of building a Kenya where the inherent dignity of every person is respected and protected, and there's no limit to what a child can achieve. I am here to tell you that the United States of America will be a partner for you every step of the way. God bless you. Thank you. Asante sana.
It remains to be seen whether Barack Obama will be more beneficial to Kenya as a retired president as opposed to when he was the sitting president of the United States. Remember, he said his hands were tied. Brian Obuya for the Chamwada Report.
Thank you so much, Brian, for that story.
Now we take a short break, but when we come back,
does it matter whether the president of the US is a Republican or a Democrat to an African?
Our work on this movement is now really just beginning. We're going to get to work immediately for the American people.
Welcome back. We are discussing President Barack Obama's legacy as he prepares to hand over power to President-elect Donald Trump on January the 20th, 2017, that is this Friday.
Indeed, and he gave an emotional farewell speech in Chicago, Illinois, the same place that he gave his acceptance speech 8 years ago. Take a look.
I do have one final ask of you as your president. The same thing I asked when you took a chance on me 8 years ago. I'm asking you to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours. I'm asking you to hold fast to that faith written into our founding documents, that idea whispered by slaves and abolitionists, that spirit sung by immigrants and homesteaders and those who marched for justice, that creed reaffirmed by those who planted flags from foreign battlefields to the surface of the moon, a creed at the core of every American whose story is not yet written. Yes, we can. Yes, we did. Yes, we can. Thank you. God bless you. May God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
That was President Barack Obama's emotional farewell speech. So, Obama out, Trump in. And that brings us to the next question. Does it matter to Africa whether the president of the US is a Republican or a Democrat?
And maybe, Alex, we should add not only Africa, but to the world.
Let us hear from our analysts.
By and large, it does not matter. But I'll give you a good example. Obama, every president in America is given some kind of an initiative that will define his legacy by Congress. So most presidents choose whatever they feel impacts on laymen, so to speak. So a good example is Bush. When he came, his legacy was on AIDS, and he put in a lot of money on HIV/AIDS research, HIV/AIDS control, HIV/AIDS issues. And indeed, that impacted on many, many, many laymen. I mean, people were now able to live longer, but even importantly, there were antiretroviral drugs that could make somebody live normally. So that is true, it impacts on people.
An American president is an American president elected to serve American interests. And generally, all of them do. But of course, there are sympathies. Clinton had sympathies for Africa. Bush, despite being conservative, had sympathies, and he started the global health program, which has helped Africa a lot. Obama has continued with it, and I hope Trump continues with it. The AGOA pact, which was done under Clinton administration, is still very much alive. So we hope that those kind of mechanisms will then help Trump focus on Africa in his own way, but in a way that will benefit Africans.
America is a mature democracy where systems transcend the presidency or individuals for that matter. And the presidency is one of the many institutions that the Americans have established themselves. I think the lesson we are learning there, from there as Africans, is that our priority today is to nurture institutions, to consolidate those institutions that we have, because they are the only guarantee we have that today and the future of our children can be reassured.
Again, Elijah, one may ask, why should we care about the US?
You know, Alex, they say that when America sneezes, the entire world gets a flu.
Well, let me still ask, the way you and I understand the role of the US in global politics and economy, is it the same way my mother in the village would understand?
Maybe Ambassador Mbaya has the answer to that question.
America is the only superpower. Superpower means there is no power in the world bigger than America, more powerful than America, more economically productive than America. Now, China is beginning to campaign to compete with America on that score. But to explain to an ordinary Kenyan, national power means four things. The first is the capacity for that country to act on the world stage. America has such an enormous capacity, economically, militarily, politically. It influences a lot of things in the world. the United Nations, World Bank, IMF, and other international organizations. And then it has enormous influence in Europe, who are helping the developing countries, for Kenya, through the European Union and so forth. So what America accepts, the rest of the world accepts. So that's why it is important for America to be friendly with us. The other aspect of national power is security. And 75% or more of American foreign policy is composed of security issues and political issues. So when America makes a comment on the democracy in Kenya, democracy in any other African country, the world listens to what America says. And the world is bound to go by American word about what they think Africa should be doing, what they think Kenya should be doing.
Still on the role of the US in global politics and economy, Elijah, the business community is also talking about it.
Sure, and I don't know whether, Alex, you saw this. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, America, is now the second largest trading partner to Kenya after Uganda globally.
That means it has overtaken the UK.
Sure.
Well, at this juncture, let us now hear from a stakeholder in the business community, Dr. James Mwangi, on the US-Kenya trade ties.
We have achieved a huge milestone. Within a period of 3 years, America has become the third largest importer of Kenyan goods. The AGOA opportunity has really driven the export of our textiles. And this has helped us diversify our markets as a country significantly. We have seen American companies bouncing back. We have now IBM have its headquarters here. We have now General Electric as its headquarters here for Africa. We have Visa and MasterCard there. So essentially, a lot has happened since then.
All right, before we wind up, another moment to hear from Kenyans. What will you remember Obama for?
I remember Barack Obama for most of the NGOs introduced in Africa. And about the Trump presidency, time will tell.
I remember President Obama, for two reasons. One, him being the first black president of African-American president, and two, for bringing the people of Kogelo in the limelight.
I can remember Obama because he's an African and because he's a Kenyan, so he makes us proud.
Kabla Obama hajakuja kuwa president, kulikuwa kumesoroteka sana uchumi kwa upande wa vita dhidi ya hawa terrorist all over the world. Tangu akuje tulianza kuona a lot of companies zikikuja mikutano hapa Kenya.
And that marks the end of our show. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, we've been talking about Obama's legacy, and we shall continue keeping an eye on the US transition as Donald Trump now takes over power from Barack Obama as the 45th US president. Perhaps, Alex, you can tell us what to expect in our next episodes.
Well, in a summary, next week we'll be looking at Kenya Airways at 40. The airline will be marking 40 years of flying.
That sounds interesting, and I believe many of our viewers will be looking forward to watch that particular story. But for now, it's a wrap. On behalf of the entire crew that has made this possible, thank you so much for watching. My name is Elijah Mwangi.
And I'm Alex Chamwada. Bye-bye for now.